Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the White Album 2's light novel reading. We are currently reading through Volume 1. So, in the last, few episodes, Kazusa has been very sick, and Haruki has been taking care of her at her house. Now, the problem is that he conveniently forgot his phone was dead for a day and a half, right before the big show. Right after promising Setsuna he'd never leave her alone. He promised he'll be with her forever. And then he's staying at another girl's house without having his phone on. It's just a mess. It's a big dramatic mess. Now Haruki's realized his mistake and is back at school. However, Setsuna is part of the festival, dressed up at basically what is a cosplay cafe. And she's got a line of guys there to see her. Let's continue on from here. The gym's going to be at full capacity while the light music club is on tomorrow, too. You know why? It's not going to be for me, or you, or Toma. It's because Setsuna Ogiso will be on stage. Everyone will be there to see her. You need to understand just how famous she is. Famous. Now that he mentioned it, I had known, but I guess I'd forgotten. Around me, Setsuna wasn't Miss Hojo High. Around me, she was a charming, ordinary girl who showed all of her emotions openly, anger and sadness and laughter and joy alike. So, Haruki, you need to think some more, and not just about the show. Haruki? Famous, huh? Well, what about it? I took a deep breath. Setsuna is our vocalist. What do I care about any other roles she plays? Whoa, Haruki? Miss Hojo High was a label other people had given her. They had chosen to put her on that pedestal. That was all. But her role as the singer for the Light Music Club was different. Setsuna had chosen that for herself. So I had to see to it that I didn't disappoint that wish of hers. Haruki, hey, what are you... As I broke away with rapid steps, Takeya called after me, his voice dubious. I'm not letting anyone get in the way of the Light Music Club, or in Setsuna's way. Hang on, what are you doing? What do you think? I'm going... With the bewildered Takeya accompanying me, I slipped through the line, catching the figure of a single teacher in the corner of my eye. To see my friend. Oh, he's such a dork. Haruki, he's such a nerd to see my friend. What kind of a friend are you, though? Come on, you couldn't even keep your phone on. How do you not check your phone for a day and a half? It just seems so unbelievable. So, moving on to poor, sweet Setsuna's piece. After she had changed into the hostess uniform, consisting of a kimono and a hakama, she helped Io with getting things in order before opening, which did help to distract her a bit. But she couldn't manage to cheer her up completely. Her phone remained silent, and the sight of the line continuing to grow out into the hallway recalled yesterday's anxiety to her. As she came back to herself, she realized just how pitiful she was. Here, doing this. If Toma-san hadn't caught that cold, how would I be feeling right now? Setsuna began imagining things pointlessly. Would she be having fun, getting everything ready? Would she be laughing about how embarrassing it was wearing this outfit? What mood would she have been in, waiting for him to stop by as a customer? I'll find the time. His words were still vivid in her mind. She wanted him to come. She wanted him to be here while she was dressed like this, so they could smile at each other, both vaguely embarrassed somehow. But that was hopeless now. Haruki-kun. She muttered his name, but there was no reply. Hey, you two, what are you doing? As a shout rang out, Setsuna, together with the rest of her class, looked out the hallway. You're going to disrupt preparations here. Shouldn't you be with your own classes anyway? Get going! It sounded like a teacher was ordering the line to disperse. She recognized the voice. He didn't handle Class A, but he was an English teacher. She was pretty sure. Oh, thank God. There were so many people here that even bringing my stuff in was a slog. Io sighed and shook her head. Good. That should make things easier. Of course, as soon as we're open, we'll be crowded. Listen, Setsuna, just forget about everything else right now and focus on being a hostess, yeah? Okay? Yeah. Thanks, Io. Nothing to thank me for. All right, everyone. We've got 15 minutes. Keep up the pace. Oh, hang on. Setsuna, I think you've got your kimono on wrong. Huh? Oh, you're right. I didn't notice. That she would mess up something like that? Her concentration really was frayed. She shouldn't be expected to be so perfect all the time. That's the thing. She's a normal girl. And putting on your own kimono is nay impossible. I tell you from experience, there's so much that goes into putting on a yukata, a kimono, any type of traditional Japanese clothing. You need to have someone helping you. I mean, not literally need it, but 99% of people do, or they hire someone to help them. She went back to the changing space at the back of the classroom, and as she was removing her sash, she heard Io saying something. It sounded like, "You? Huh? No, she's here, but right now... Hey, wait!" She wondered briefly what was going on, but her thoughts went straight back to him. As she started questioning why she was even dressing like this if he wasn't going to show up, the movements of her hands became sluggish. Huh. With another sigh, she finally got the sash off and opened the front of her kimono. And that was when it happened. It sounded as though a noise from outside had been getting steadily closer. Then, suddenly, the curtain was thrown open, and someone appeared before Setsuna. Setsuna, I'm sorry about Huh? Oh, Their eyes met, and they both froze. Haruki is the king of inopportune moments. Really? The moment she opens up her kimono, he's just gonna blast in there. It was him. The one she had been sure wouldn't show up was standing right there. But Setsuna was far from feeling happy because she was right in the middle of removing her kimono. And we get a gratuitous amount of fan service in today's image. Look at that. This is another bonus scene that didn't happen in the game. In the game, of course, he just burst in and she was fully clothed. Here, as you can see, her hair down and everything, she is... she is exposed. But we're not complaining. So there you have it. There's a nice bonus image of Setsuna here. What? Oh, I'm so sorry. While Setsuna began panicking, unable even to scream, he hurried off, seeming to have realized that he was intruding. I told you to wait, you idiot! With Io's bellowing, she understood that she had genuinely seen him just now, and not an apparition. What am I supposed to... The whole thing had happened so abruptly, and so many emotions were blowing up and tangling together at once, that her head went blank. She stood there, frozen, until she finally heard his voice again from outside. Sorry, Setsuna, I really didn't mean for that to happen. He was talking to her, his voice frantic. I'm sorry, but I had to see you as soon as possible. Setsuna, I'm so sorry about yesterday. Yesterday? Meaning... My phone was dead all day. I didn't even notice until just a little bit ago. If I'd tried to get in touch with you sooner, this wouldn't have happened. Ah. Not just yesterday, but also the day before. I'd like to point out that it's been well over 24 hours since his phone went dead and he didn't notice. So his phone really had just been dead. Takeya told me what happened yesterday. I'm sorry I didn't make it to the rehearsal. I'm sorry I didn't contact you at all. I left you alone. I'm truly sorry. His voice was so remorseful that she could tell what his face must be like, just from hearing him. When I entered the classroom just now, I was so determined to apologize to you that I couldn't stop myself. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The one she had been longing to see this whole time. He was right there. Right out there, thinking of Setsuna and only Setsuna. After replacing her kimono, Setsuna stepped outside, and then she noticed. Yes, he was there, but he wasn't looking at her. There, on the spot, he was facing her with his head bowed. In all likelihood, he had been doing that the whole time, all for her. He never did anything with the intention of betraying me. He didn't want to hurt me. That's why he came. Haruki-kun. Setsuna spoke to him, and he slowly raised his face. I wonder how deeply he's bowing. They don't really specify that much, just his head bowed, but it sounds pretty like a really intensely remorseful apology here. They looked at each other for a while, neither of them moving a muscle. How awkward for everybody around. While the world bustled around them, they heard none of it. At last, Setsuna began to speak again. Hey, Haruki-kun? He straightened up just a little, pain in his face. I forgive you. Thank you for coming. She smiled, and nothing in it was superficial. Because the first thing he had said, even before speaking of Kazusa's condition, had been an apology to her. The thing she had wanted to hear the most. So she forgave him. Because he understood what she had suffered. Setsuna. Once more, he murmured that he was sorry. Io, who had remained firm up to this point, opened her mouth, seeming a little at a loss as to what was going on. That's Haruki's way of taking responsibility. Leave him be, though I'm pretty surprised myself. Setsuna finally noticed that Takeya was next to Io. Oh, Takeya came. Now everybody knows. Now everybody's caught up on the situation. Except for Kazusa. She had to laugh a bit at herself for noticing so little of her surroundings. So, Haruki-kun, how is Toma-san? Well, Setsuna, about that. He looked like he wanted to say something and was trying to find the words. What is it? Is Toma-san really that... Huh? Oh, no, sorry, her fever's gone down a lot. This morning it was 36.7. Oh, thank goodness. Don't scare me like that. Sorry. What I mean is, actually, can we talk about it later? Later? She had no idea what it could be. And by later, I mean somewhere that isn't here. Huh? I understand that I'm about to cause serious trouble for the students of Class A. He took a deep breath. Haruki just goes around causing trouble for everybody. I mean, in a way, he's becoming friends and he's being nice to people and having someone to open up to for Setsuna and Kazusa is great, but he is really causing trouble for a lot of people. Let's go, Setsuna. Huh? His hand gripped hers tightly. Haruki-kun! Sorry, but I'm taking Setsuna with me. Run, Setsuna! She ran, letting him pull her by the hand, though she had no idea what was going on. They rushed out of the classroom, leaving behind an air of general bewilderment, and took off down the hallway. Haruki-kun, what's going on? What are you doing? We're going to rehearse. We've still got more than a full day before the show, so why shouldn't we? But I have no idea what's... It's fine. I'll explain Toma's condition on the way. Right now, we just need to get out of the school. If the Class A students catch us, I'll be publicly executed. Publicly executed because literally everyone was so excited to see Setsuna, and he is stealing her away. But, I know. None of this is your fault, Setsuna. It's on me. You don't have to worry about it. That's not what I mean. Am I supposed to just go out in this? Listen to me, Setsuna. He gave a small nod. If we want to get out of here, you'll have to. What? What? This was unthinkable to Setsuna. But by the time they had rushed down the stairs, put on their shoes, and flown out of the school building, every petty complaint had vanished from her head completely. As they sped across the schoolyard and put the campus behind them, she simply enjoyed the sensation of his hand pulling hers. Oh, that's so cheesy and romantic. But keep in mind, she is wearing the traditional outfit from the cafe still. And now that they're outside of the campus, that looks extremely odd. That's going to stand out so much. She focused on running, letting her head go empty, save for a single worry that popped up along the way, wondering whether her cheeks had turned red. This wasn't because she was embarrassed to be seen in this outfit, of course, but Setsuna decided not to think too far beyond that. And, before she knew it, the station had come into view. So, continuing on from here, we move to Haruki's piece. You know, at that moment, when I was standing up on the stage, I felt like I was somewhere completely unfamiliar. Yeah. Even though it was just a rehearsal, there was no one there, and I was still thinking about their eyes. Thinking about how many people will be looking at me on the day of the actual show, and my hands started shaking, my legs got all wobbly, and I couldn't sing. I'm sorry for putting you into that situation by yourself, Setsuna. But Haruki-kun... Setsuna, who'd been looking away from me as she spoke, turned and looked at me, bright red in the face. I don't like this situation either. I couldn't blame Setsuna for being embarrassed and upset. It was 9 a.m, and while the rush had passed, there were still a fair number of people on the train. Could you imagine this beautiful, beautiful high school girl in the traditional Japanese outfit with a high school guy? It just looks so out of place, especially on a train in a busy area. Actually, it might have been better if it were rush hour. Since there was a bit of space between the passengers, people were genuinely going to take notice of someone in full Taisho retro garb, with her kimono and hakama. The flashy patterns didn't help. I know, I'm sorry. If you yell like that, though, even more people will look. Do you really have to be so sensible right now? Sorry. I was just trying to be helpful. Haruki's version of helpful is not always helpful, as we have learned. They're all staring. I know nobody knows me here. It's not like it's school, but that's actually even more embarrassing. They're probably going, "What's with that girl?" Setsuna shrunk in on herself. I don't have anything to change into because you just rushed me out. Sorry. In truth, I hadn't wanted to take such an extreme measure either. I had hoped to get her to sneak out before the cafe opened or something, stealthily. But when I saw her, I thought, we're going to have to make a run for it. I mean, couldn't you have just said, hey, I'm taking Setsuna to go grab a coffee? Hey, we're going to go grab a tea. You know, I feel like there were better ways they could have done it. Then again, there was a long line of students waiting, so they could have caused a ruckus too if they saw Setsuna. By the time my head cooled down, I had dashed off with this hostess in tow and brought her onto a train with me. Now that I thought about it, I had been holding Setsuna's hand the whole time. Anyway, I apologize. Here, you can move over and hide behind me. I let Setsuna take shelter in the gap between me and the door, standing in such a way as to hide her. This meant we were facing each other, and while this was embarrassing in an entirely different sense, there was really no other way. Our eyes met, and we both caught our breath. Oh God, this really was embarrassing. Setsuna's face was so close. They're so funny. This is so cheesy, so flirty. I decided I could try to look away, at least, and that's when it happened. Huh? Setsuna! I suddenly realized that Setsuna was grasping tightly at my chest. Then she buried her face in my chest. Setsuna, I'm fine with hiding you, but this is a little... I was sort of enjoying the sensation, sort of freaking out about it, and then Setsuna's shoulders suddenly started to shake. Scared. Huh? Setsuna was muttering, her face still hidden. I was scared. I was so scared. I wanted you to say something to me. I wanted you to tell me I wasn't alone. Her voice was small, frail, and I felt ashamed for that moment of elation. What if I was alone for the show too? What if you and Toma-san didn't show up for me? Her grip tightened further. If I wound up all alone again, I would... Setsuna. I was so scared. I was scared, Haruki-kun. All of the attention in the train car was probably focused on us now, even more than it had been. But I didn't care about that anymore. How many times did I have to hurt Setsuna? Poor girl. And I mean, granted that they're just friends, it still hurts when a friend betrays your trust. It still hurts when they make a promise and they break that promise. How many times did I have to cause my friend anxiety like this before I stopped repeating the same thing? Hopeless idiot that I was, I had no right to do anything for Setsuna except let her hide in my chest like this. So I apologized. It was the only thing I could do. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Setsuna. I trusted you. I believed in you the whole time. Thank you. I'm a huge idiot, and I know I caused you horrible anxiety, but I'm going to keep my promise. Or, what? More like, keep your promise moving forward because you already broke your promise. I'm not going to leave you or turn my back on you, not until you get sick of me. Yes, you're right. We made a promise, but I just started freaking out. It's not your fault. All of it was on me. I'm sorry. Haruki-kun. To outside eyes, we must have looked like a couple. Oh, absolutely must have looked like a couple. Even your conversation sounds like you're a couple. But really, it was nothing that nice. Just me, an idiot, and a lonely girl who had believed in that idiot. This would be a beautiful tagline for White Album 2. You know, sometimes they try to summarize a game in one sentence. This is it. An idiot and a lonely girl who had believed in that idiot. That's all we need. That's White Album 2. So, until the announcement that we had arrived in Iwazucho, Setsuna continued hanging on to my chest, even once she'd calmed down. And for me, feeling a bit of happiness in addition to my shame. There really was no other word but idiot. Oh, man. By the time we stepped out onto the platform, Setsuna had returned to her usual self. Well, actually, I wouldn't be sure whether to call turning bright red, flapping her hands, and saying, "Please, please, forget everything that just happened," Setsuna's normal self. How much was I supposed to forget anyway? I let you see how tacky I am again. Hey, it didn't bother me at all, okay? This whole thing is my fault. There was something kind of fresh and interesting about seeing a hostess riding a train, though. No, forget that too. That was also your fault, Haruki-kun. She was still panicking. I wondered whether my getting to see her like this was a result of the outfit. I wish you'd been in a Taisho schoolboy outfit too. I'm perfectly fine with my student outfit. It was just a uniform. Oh, the girls at our tea house call the customers Mr. Student. I could call you that, Haruki-kun. Oh, this is so silly. This is so silly. This does not translate well at all because Mr. Student doesn't sound romantic, and it doesn't have that slight, like, it's a little bit perverted, a little bit weird, a little bit romantic feel to it. So yeah, the English does not do this justice. I think if she had just said the word master, that would probably match up better to what she was trying to get at here. Oh, you don't have to. You don't want me to? Hey, what are you talking about in a public place like this? Mr. Student, what on earth is going through your head today, dragging me out so forcefully? Hey, Setsuna. I grew flustered at Setsuna's sudden decision to play the part of hostess. There were a lot of people on this platform. I know you love the young lady who lives in the mansion. Who? Something happened, didn't it? That's why you came to me. What? What? What the hell? But I still, if this is what you want, even if I'm just a substitute for a wealthier girl. Her eyes pierced straight through me. Mr. Student. For a moment, I was so absorbed in her eyes that I couldn't move. Setsuna. And then, well, let's get going. Setsuna quickly switched back to her usual self, leaving me behind. What an adorable and playful thing to do. Setsuna is so cute. But, as the reader can probably tell, that little role play was kind of the truth. Talking about how, well, he wants the wealthier girl, but he's coming to her as a substitute. That's painfully close to the truth, unfortunately. And that's why Setsuna could perform it so easily. Setsuna, please don't just throw that at me with no warning. I could barely breathe. That's what you get for dragging me out in this outfit. See? Now everyone's looking at you too. That's not very good. They're definitely looking at the both of you. I glanced around and, indeed, everyone on the platform was looking our way. Let's go. Look at the time. Oh, wait for me, Mr. Student. Setsuna chased after me, continuing on in her little game. Wasn't she supposed to be afraid of other people's gazes? To think this was what she was capable of when she wasn't alone. But to look at it another way, if she had me and Toma with her, Setsuna would be able to display her true potential on stage. That much, at least, was a relief. As unreasonable as I knew it had been, I was glad to have brought her out. Mr. Student, don't leave me here. Please knock it off, Setsuna. Glad. Yes, glad. At that moment, right past the ticket gate, as I was looking behind me, I bumped into someone. Well, that's what you get for not looking where you're walking. Whoa! Eesh! I just stumbled a little, but the other had fallen on her backside. Ow! It was a girl in a sailor uniform. She looked to be about middle school age. Sorry, are you okay? Yeah. I had meant to help her up, but she quickly stood up on her own. I'm really sorry. I should have been looking where I was going. No, I wasn't paying attention either. That's all that needs to be said. Yeah? She was a very clear-headed girl, apparently. Oh, is that uniform from Hojo High School? Huh? It is. Why? Well, Haruki-kun, are you okay? The girl had been about to say something, but when Setsuna appeared, she stopped, blinking in surprise. Way to go, knocking down a girl in a middle school uniform. Then again, it's during school hours, so it's a bit weird that she's not at school. Yeah, I just bumped into this girl. So I see. Are you all right? Are you hurt at all? Oh, well, She was staring at Setsuna, more specifically, Setsuna's outfit, apparently struggling for words. Well, I couldn't blame her. At that moment, someone far away called out, "Koharu-chan!" "Ah, well, my friend has arrived, so I'll excuse myself now." After a small bow, she walked off in the direction of the voice. "That girl goes to the same middle school as my brother, Takahiro. I used to wear that same sailor uniform." She explained that today was a day off. Oh, okay, that makes sense. In honor of the anniversary of the school's founding. I see. So this is definitely an extra scene. This was not in the original game itself. This is a bonus that it had only appeared in the novels, which is kind of a neat thing because in the game you meet Koharu much later on. This is kind of a preview, getting to see her as a middle schooler. So with that, we will stop off there for today. So thank you so much for being here with us on this chapter of White Album 2's light novel series, and I'll be back to you with more content shortly. So until then, hope you take care. See you.